the mighty and resilient Merrimack River, carving through the communities of our great region. My name is Linda Lorden, proud president of Merrimack County Savings Bank, and like the river that serves as our namesake, we're a constant yet ever-changing presence. Because to us, it's bigger than banking. It's about powering communities and putting people first. It's about knowing where you came from and where you're going. That's Merrimack style. Visit us at themerrimack.com.
Hello and welcome back to Chasing Excellence, a show about chasing what truly matters. My name is Patrick Cummings. As always, I am joined by Ben Bergeron. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Yeah. Enjoying life, Patrick. Thanks.
Happy to hear that. It's good to see you. It's good to be here. This week, we're going to talk about what I think is maybe the simplest recipe for success that we have, which is to show up and don't complain. This is something that you said to me months ago, and it's been sitting in the back of my head, and I'm glad we're going to finally talk through it, talk about it a little bit more. A couple things before we get into that conversation. If you'd like to get a question into a future episode, we'd love to get them. ChasingExcellence.email. We send out an email on Saturdays with a link to a form. We thank you in advance for sending them. We've got a bunch of good ones in the queue for episodes coming out this summer. When you're there, consider joining the Chase Club, which is what I've now called the premium membership. And inside of the Chase Club, we're going to have our second book club. Our first book club, we did The Ideal Team Player. The second one, your recommendation, I'm excited about this because I actually haven't read this, is going to be The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. We're going to do something a little bit different inside of the Chase Club for our second book club. Every single week, we're going to talk through inside of Substack, each of the 5 parts of the book. So there's 5 parts, 5 weeks. We're going to dive in there. And then you and I, at the end of that, will still record a conversation about some of our big takeaways. Now's a great time to jump in if you want to join us in the book club, partly because we have a little summer special going off, so you can get 25% off your first 12 months. You don't need any links or codes. Just if you sign up and you upgrade at www.chasingexcellence.email, you'll get it for that 25% off. So we welcome you in there and are excited to get into our second book club. And then real quick, we haven't done this, I think really since we started the new format, but just a moment of joy when we just give 1 minute, dedicate to focusing on the thing or the things that have particularly been bringing us joy lately. I would love to know what's been making you happy.
Yeah, I've gotten a little bit more into running again. And
nice.
first time in a long time. So in the CompTrain programming, we do Sunday run days. But basically these longer runs, they're not very long for the running community. It's been feeling really good. One might say joyful. And one of my big things is for sure no headphones.
Oh, interesting.
I think if you do a long run, listening to a podcast or listening to music, you're getting a fractional amount of what the benefit you would be getting otherwise. The opportunity to allow your mind to go where your mind wants to go, as your words you've used a lot, is like to own your attention. This is a little bit different than owning your attention. It's taking the constraints off of your attention. So you're not saying, hey, I'm going to focus on listening to Andrew Huberman's podcast, or I'm going to listen to this book on tape, or I'm going to listen to music. It allows your mind to really just do what it's supposed to do. And then here's the other part, is listening to your feet hit the pavement, listening to your breath, listening to the birds, listening to a cyclist come by you, whatever it might be, getting the full sensory experience of these 20 to 60 minute upwards of, an hour and 20 minute run. There's a lot to be gained from them. And yeah. I realize how much I've missed it. And it's certainly something that, we're also in the summer months. I don't know if I'd be saying it's a moment of joy if it was February in New England, but in the summer, it's really nice.
I'm going to change my answer because you've got me realizing that one of the things I've been really enjoying lately is similar to that, but it's rucking. I've started to ruck. Mm-hmm. I've been trying at least once a week to get outside, literally just get up same time as usual, but instead of spend an hour downstairs in the garage, just throw on a heavy pack and wander up the road. And actually, that's been really, really cool. Again, partly the weather's perfect for it. The morning's really nice for it. But I'm going to try this whole unplugged version because I have actually I've been podcasting or audio booking. So I think you make a good case for using that time on the road to sit in silence a little bit. So I like that.
It's where a lot of the frameworks for these conversations come up in my head. When you ruck, what are you using for a ruck?
I've just repurposed a backpack that I've had, and I've got a couple. We've had little 8-pound dumbbells in the house for years, so I threw them in there, and then I threw some 5-pound plates in there as well. And I'll probably bump that up a little bit, but for now, that's been working nicely.
And you go on roads or in the woods?
Yeah.
Or what do you do?
No, I go on the road. Yeah, I just do. It's about. I try to aim for 45 minutes, so I'll go 25 minutes one way and turn around and come right back, and then I'm back before the house is awake, which is kind of perfect.
Yeah, really nice. Yep.
Yeah. So I've been enjoying that too. Cool. Thank you. That was great and great idea. All right, we're going to get into our conversation about showing up and not complaining in just 2 minutes. But first, a quick word of thanks from a few sponsors. We are brought to you this week by LMNT. Have you tried LMNT Sparkling yet, Ben? I know you have. In fact, you have it.
I have it right in front of me right now. Boom. And this is such a good, so good.
Yeah. Yes. Head to drinklmnt.com/excellence to learn more. Sign up to become an LMNT insider so you can get your hands on LMNT Sparkling for yourself. What is it? It's the same zero sugar electrolyte formulation you already know and trust, but now in a 16-ounce can of sparkling water. Each can is a step toward better health and away from sugar and stimulant-loaded drinks. It comes in amazing flavors like citrus salt, watermelon salt, grapefruit salt, and the debut of black cherry lime. Which one do you have there?
I have I would never choose this otherwise, but it's grapefruit. But it tastes more like orange. It tastes more like orange soda than it does grapefruit.
Good to know, because I would not have reached for grapefruit myself. It's just 5 calories, 0 gram sugar, and packed with essential electrolytes, 1,000 milligrams sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams magnesium. It's available online only to LMNT insiders. To become one, you'll need to have purchased the LMNT Insider Bundle within the last 9 months. Afterwards, as long as you're logged into the website, you'll be able to see and purchase LMNT Sparkling. They're not sure when it will launch to the broader public, so if you want to be the coolest kid in gym class, become an insider is the only way to do it. Just head to drinklmnt.com/excellence to learn more. When you do, you'll get a free sample pack of LMNT with any purchase, LMNT Sparkling or not, from our fridge to yours. Welcome to the next chapter in the Salty Rebellion. We're also brought to you this week by OneSkin. I've got to tell you about this wonderful skincare brand we've been using called OneSkin. Head to oneskin.co and use the code excellence to save yourself 15% off any one of their world-class skin products. OneSkin's products are created by skin longevity scientists and are scientifically proven to reverse skin's biological age at the cellular level. If you're planning to be outside a lot this summer, as we encourage you to be, you've got to check out OneSkin's new limited edition bundle, Summer Skincare Essentials, which includes their daily moisturizers and broad-spectrum sunscreens for the face and body. Whether you're laying out at the beach, hiking, or heading out on vacation, OneSkin's OS01-powered sunscreens block UV rays while targeting the UV-induced skin aging you've already got. OneSkin is offering an exclusive 15% off your first purchase with the code excellence. Just head to oneskin.co to check out their summer skincare essentials and everything else that they've got. Their products are not just about how we look, but also optimizing our skin biology so that it is more resilient to the aging process. They believe in creating next level skincare. Again, 15% off with the code excellence at oneskin.co. Don't forget to tell them we sent you when you make your purchase. Invest in the health of your skin with OneSkin. We are also brought to you this time around by Notion. I use Notion every single day. I use Notion nearly every minute that I'm working, and that is not an exaggeration. I produce 2 podcasts, do all my writing, organize my to-do lists, track my progress across 5 factors, all of it inside of Notion. It is very much my brain outside of my brain. If you don't know what Notion is, head to notion.com/excellence to learn more and to get yourself started in using it. What can you do once you get started? Well, Notion combines your notes, your docs, your projects into one space that's simple and beautifully designed. And now with the power of AI built right inside of it, it works across your entire workspace. So whether you're taking notes, managing progress, brainstorming ideas, tracking the 5 factors, Notion AI helps you work faster, write better, and think bigger. Notion is used by over half of Fortune 500 companies, and teams that use it send less emails. Oh God, isn't that a good thing? You send less emails. I'll say it again. Cancel more meetings. Oh, even better. And save time searching for their work. It's seamlessly integrated, infinitely flexible, and beautifully easy to use if you work on a computer. Notion will make your work better. Get started by heading to notion.com/excellence. That's notion.com/excellence. Okay, amigo. I don't remember exactly how we had this conversation months ago, but we were talking, I think, about the gym, probably talking about CompTrain. And you said to me, the simplest prescription I have for success in the gym, and maybe it was CrossFit New England, is if I can just get you to show up and not complain, almost everything kind of gets taken care of from there. So let's start in the gym, since it's the most appropriate place. And I think it is where we started this conversation, you and I. What does it mean to show up and don't complain? And why is that such a powerful and simple framework to use in pursuit of success?
If you start to go and back up some dominoes and go, well, what is the actual prerequisites for success? Because there's a lot of strategies, there's a lot of objectives, there's a lot of tools in place, there's a lot of methods that somebody could use, but what are the non-negotiables? What are the actual things that are going to be the first domino that everything else is going to then fall from? Well, the first one is you have to do the work. You have to show up. You have to actually be there. So whether that's work or relationships or fitness, the conversation started with the gym, you have to go. You have to do the thing. No one is going to, whatever the fitness goal is, be able to bench press 300 pounds, squat 450, run a 5-minute mile, and do 30 unbroken pull-ups without the training, without actually doing the work. I like Peter Attia's thing about why VO2 max is a good metric for cardiovascular health. He's like, because you can't cheat it. You can't cram for the test. You have to have done the work. You can't just do 3 weeks of work and be like, well, now I have it. It's kind of which you might be able to get away with with body weight, right? You just don't eat for 3 weeks and the scale all of a sudden looks a whole lot better. That's not the case for true health. It takes a lot more work than that. Well, what is work? You have to show up. You have to be there. You have to take action. And this is a little bit more of a hurdle than you might think for a lot of people, because a lot of people are actually giving themselves credit without actually doing the work. There is a dopamine, there is a feel-good response from talking about your goals. And when people talk about their goals, they can elude themselves in the fact that they actually are achieving it. Dopamine is this reinforcing mechanism that keeps you going. Back in ancestral past, it was a thing of chasing down the antelope. As you got closer, you felt good. There was before you're oh, you're getting closer to your goal, keep it going. Just you talking about improving your career, just you talking about getting a 6-pack, just you talking about doing those things makes you feel good. Just you talking about eating healthier. This is why people always have diets that start on a Monday, because it feels really good to talk about you eating salads and water and giving up the things. Okay, you get a feel good out of that. But in terms of success, you are not moving the ball down the field at all. You're still at the goal line. You need to take first step across the line of scrimmage and actually start doing the work and marching down the field. In the more psychiatric standpoint of this, there's a lot of, this has been talked about in a lot of different ways by different institutions. The religious thing, or what shows up in cartoons, is you have an angel and a devil talking to you on each shoulder.
I like it's religion and cartoons. Those are the two.
Yeah.
That's the two ways they show up.
Yes. Yeah. There should be more of that.
Those two worlds.
There should be more of that. And in Freud talked about it as the super ego and the id. I think that Ray Dalio and other people, Tim Galway in The Inner Game of Tennis talks about self 1 and self 2. There's two yous inside of you. There's two yous living inside of you. Self 1 is the kind of the righteous one that wants all the best things for you and knows what those things are. And that's why it's really good at long-term planning. Next summer, I'm going to have abs, But self 2 is the one that when push comes to shove, it's the one that yeah, I want abs, but but let's still eat those 4 cookies. And Self one is usually a little bit more of a whisper and almost goes quiet in the time of actual decision making. Self two is the one that's, when you're talking like what's going to happen in the future, it doesn't have a voice. But when it talks about what's happening right now, it's not a whisper. It's so loud. Like, no, have the pizza, have the second pizza. And what we have to realize is if we want success, if we want to achieve the things we want to, it's about action. It's about doing the thing. And that's what's in self one is in control of. So the first side of this, show up and don't complain, is like, you have to show up. You have to be in the gym 4, 5, 6 days a week if you want to be the crazy fit person that you think you can become. It doesn't happen by mistake. It doesn't happen just by you thinking about it. It's not enough. I'm not saying don't plan. I'm not saying don't strategize. I'm not saying don't figure out the right tools, tactics, become more knowledgeable about it. All those things can play a role, but all of the thinking, planning, and knowledge accounts for 0 in terms of the true success of health until you put it into practice. What do you have to do to put in practice? You must show up. Number 1 is you actually have to be there and actually do some work. The second part of the equation is you can actually completely undermine the work with the wrong mindset. And as a coach that's done this for, going on almost 2 decades, I've seen this where people show up to the gym 5 days a week, but they have such a defeatist mindset. They have such a victim mindset. They complain about the process so much that they actually talk themselves out of results. So if you want to me, the 2 prerequisites, the 2 things that must be there, everything else is sort of negotiable. The non-negotiables for results is you must show up and you can't complain about it. If those 2 things are in place, results are going to happen. Now, at what speed? That's variable. At what trajectory? Will it be a low, constant trajectory up and to the right? Or will it be ups and downs and bumps? And all of that is unknown. But the only 2 prerequisites that I can put in place that are consistent, basically across any endeavor, whether it's the gym or it's relationships or it's your career or it's parenting, you have to show up and you can't complain about it. Those 2 things and success will happen. Maybe not on your timeline and maybe not without the bumps in the road, but success can then be a result of the process. Without those 2 things, it's more of a coin flip.
It makes me think about something that we're still in the midst of and something we've talked about before, but with CompTrain, which a lot of folks will obviously know of what it is. And over the last, let's call it 18 months, we've been in the process of rebuilding the app, might be the simplest way to put it. And man, has that not gone the way we had intended it and thought it would go. And I bring that up simply to say, I think it would have been really easy for the team, it's for you as the leader and the team itself and everybody around, to have stopped showing up. Maybe not literally, like we still show up at the meetings and whatnot, but really show up. And when we did show up, complain about all the things that weren't going the way we hoped they would go. Complaining about the things that weren't working yet, at the speed at which they were being fixed, and all of these things. And I think about if we had spent the last 18 months doing that, sort of showing up and complaining while we were there, we wouldn't have ever gotten to a place where we are now, which is, okay, we see the light, right? We're not there yet. Everything's not perfect, but we've done enough to be able to be in a place where we think we're getting out of it. And I think that's just a microcosm. That's just one example of why or where showing up and not complaining were necessary to get from a place of things not working the way we want them to moving towards a place where they are working. And I think that if we were to just take that example or that story and drop that into other areas of life, we'd recognize that almost everything that we want to your point, won't happen on our timeline, won't happen without bumps in the road. But how often do we either not show up or complain while we are there, such that we don't ever get to the place where it's like, oh, this is almost working?
Yeah, it's easier to talk about this now on the basically on the other side of that, the last year of challenges that we faced. But that's all of the endeavors that we have in life. And for us, we're trying to break this down into nice frameworks that it's not an infinite number of endeavors. We have these few things that truly matter to us. And if we can chase those things with this perspective, which it always is going to require us to show up. If you throw in the towel, like we could have done, it's over. Like it's over. And we very easily, Patrick, you were behind the scenes, the amount of work and commitment it took to see ourselves through this. And wow, it's really cool to be on the other side of this thing and seeing what's ahead of us. Like it was a lot of work, and I feel really proud of the work that we've done and what we can bring to the market now. To your point, if we had showed up to work every day, but we didn't bring our full self to it, that's not showing up. Right. That's not
just
what we're talking about.
Being there in body only is not showing up. That's
now now here's the other thing though, is you do have to show up in body. Like you have,
of course.
That is like being a parent. Like you hear this a lot, which is the super high achievers that start to work with mentors and they ask them what their values are. And they go, well, it's for me, it's family first. And they go, okay, show me your schedule. And they're out the door at 5:30 in the morning. They go to the gym. From the gym, they shower and they go to work, and they're at work until 6:30 at night. And then they go have the dinners and they come back. And after their corporate dinner, they come home and they're home at 8:30 at night, enough time to tuck their kids into bed and kiss them goodnight. Maybe they read them a goodnight story. No. That is not showing up. That is not putting your family first. As a leader, is leadership important to you? Is leadership important to you, but you lock yourself up in your ivory tower or in your office, or you only meet with your super small executive team or the board? That is not leadership. To be a true leader, if that's what you're trying to bring, you need to be present. And I learned this the hard way coming out of COVID a bunch of different times and trying to pass off certain responsibilities to other people. You have to be present to the point now, I don't do any work in my office anymore. I do it, if I'm in a room, it's a glass room so I can see out and people can see in. I don't even do any work in offices anymore because I've realized the power of showing up. You have to show up. Your feet have to be there. Your eyes have to be on them and their eyes on you. This is a prerequisite for just about anything and everything. Then from there, it's kind of like, are you showing up with your attention? Are you the parent that's there, but you're on your computer, you're on your phone, that's better than not being there, ... maybe. But at least it gives you the opportunity, right? Yes. It at least gives you the opportunity. You have another foot in the door. You at least are like at the beach with your swim trunks on. It's not like you're in your suit. The opportunity is there. But we'd love to be there with like your full self. Like, and this is where, chasing what truly matters comes into play, is can you bring your true, full, authentic self to every moment, being fully present. And present is here now, not daydreaming about something future, not replaying something in the past, and certainly not distracted, any of the five senses we've already talked about, by something else. Your sight, your sound, your feel, your touch, your smell, whatever it is. You're here in this thing. That's what showing up is. That's showing up to the gym, not with your phone, checking it, Instagram in between and doing text messages. No, you're here for this hour and you're giving this hour your full attention. That's what showing up is. We need to be there with our full best self. And if we do that, and we bring this other mindset component, which is I'm not going to play the victim along the way. I'm not going to sit here and go, well, this will never work. I can't, like the small handful of people I've had walk into the gym with that mindset, it does not work. They will come to the gym the same number of times and they are physically present the same way, but because they have the mentality of, this is now my sixth try at losing weight, getting off medication, whatever it might be, and they just have this idea, well, like, I'm just going to go through the motions of it, but I'm going to complain along the way, it will derail. It will derail the process. It's the same thing as you going into a job, a new career, and going, listen, no matter how hard I work, because my other jobs, no matter how hard I work, they're not going to recognize my efforts. I'm going to be devalued. No one's going to appreciate my contributions. No one's going to think that I'm a valuable member of the team. I'm never going to get to what I deserve. Guess what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. Those things. Call it what you want. It doesn't matter to me. What I don't want you to call it is like positive thinking. It's not that. If you want to call it like bringing your best self, I like that. Some people call it manifesting. It's not like I'm not saying you're going to will it into the universe. It's going to come back to you. But what I am saying is if you do the opposite, it won't happen. Yep. You need to at least get yourself swimming downstream. You have to be going in the right direction. Otherwise, if you're swimming upstream against it, of course it's going to be way too much effort for what's on the other side, which is what we've been talking about, is the prerequisites for success.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's also something we've talked about before, which is just the attention cost. If you spend all of your attention looking for the things that aren't working, if you spend all of your attention thinking about my kid never listens to me, or my boss doesn't respect me, or I've been to the gym every day for 3 months and I haven't lost the 30 pounds yet. If you spend all of that attention on those negative things, the app still doesn't work, the people aren't responding to me, then you don't have the opportunity to look for the things that are working, to reinforce the actions, the showing up, to continue to be sustainable, to be consistent, to show up again tomorrow, the day after that. And it's the showing up the day after that and the day after that. That's ultimately the thing that's going to get you to where you're trying to get. But if you spend so much time thinking about what's not working, what's not perfect, and where it's not yet where you want it to be, ultimately, I think we can only take so much of that before we just bow out and say, you know what? It's not meant to be. Maybe this isn't the right way. Maybe this isn't the right job. At some point, you'll just stop showing up if all you've done every time you have showed up is look for everything that's not working, and look for every imperfection, and look for every place that you've fallen short. Ultimately, you just won't show up again.
So that if you're looking for all of those struggles, challenges, negatives, we've talked about this before, but it's, in psychology circles, it's called the reticular activation system, which is what you look for, you'll see more of. It's a frequency illusion. You're going to go buy, you're going to go and you're thinking about buying a new Jeep Cherokee. Guess what you start to see everywhere? It's what you look for, you see more of. Now, what we know is that the word is hope. Hope is real. Now that's, get ready for like the eye roll moments until we go. One of the most renowned psychologists ever is B.F. Skinner. And he did this really profound test on Norwegian field mice, which is he had them swim. It's a swim test. Tread water in a big tub as long as they possibly can until they reach full exhaustion and drown. And he times them to see how long they can do it. And I'm probably going to get the numbers a little bit wrong. It's been a long time so to this study, but I believe it ended up, they could swim for about 3.5 hours or so before they reach full exhaustion. And meanwhile, this is animal instincts. They don't have the capacity to go like, it's just a bad day. Like my legs are sore. I shouldn't have gone out partying last night. I'm not going to give it full effort. This is the true maximum capacity of this species. They can swim for 3.5 hours before reaching complete exhaustion. These little tiny legs before they drown. Except when he redid the experiment, he instead gave a second group of mice hope. And what he did is just before that 3.5-hour mark, he pulled the mice out just for a moment or two before putting them back in. But he gave those mice hope that they could be rescued. And these mice swam for over twice as long, ended up being like 8 hours to exhaustion. What this means is if you have a belief, that's what it is. If you have a belief that things will work out, hope, you're willing to commit over twice as much effort. Now, if you just come in complaining is the telltale sign you're focusing on negative things outside of your control. Remember the decision tree. Did something go wrong? Yes or no? No. Well, then there's nothing to complain about. Nothing's wrong. Did something go wrong? Yes. Do you have control over that? No. Then don't complain. Like, there's nothing to complain about because you can't change it. Did something go wrong? Do you have control over that? Meaning, can you influence it? Yes. Well, then don't complain. Go change it. Go do the thing. In no circumstance does focusing on negative things outside of your control improve your performance. Period. It does not happen. So instead, what we've got to do is if we find something that's worth complaining about, you either figure out that this is something I can't change and I need to let it go, or it's something I can change and go make the change. How do you make the change? You show up without complaining. And it comes back to that same cycle. This is the prerequisites for success.
Which brings us back to kind of what I started this with is this is the simplest prescription, the simplest recipe we have for success. And because you really can, whether it's the gym and your health, whether it's work and your job, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your parenting, whether it's just your own personal growth, it almost doesn't matter what it is. If you layer on top of it, the solution comes from showing up however the domain, however the context demands or dictates what showing up looks like. And while you are there, after you've showed up, you don't complain.
Right.
If you just look at everything that you're trying to accomplish, if we look at everything that we're trying to accomplish and say, what does it look like to show up? And then to make sure that we don't complain while we show up, I really do think that that's a recipe for, again, your point, doesn't know when, you don't know how quick, it won't happen without bumps in the road. But if you just stick to it, which is sort of my last question, which is the ultimate sustainability of this approach, you can always show up and you can always not complain. And I think that's why it's so useful and so valuable, because you can always show up and you can always choose not to complain.
Yeah, to your point, it rolls across modalities. It rolls across endeavors, right? So if you in personal growth, if you're reading all the right books, right? If you're listening to Chasing Excellence, if you're going to Tony Robbins seminars, but in the back of your head going like, damn it, mom, it's still your fault, right? It's your fault. Like, and you still have that complaint thing in your head, I can't promise that you'll get there. It gives you the best chance at success. If you continually show up day after day, day after day, day after day, and you resist every temptation and form the ability to reframe complaints into something else, that's our best shot. And it's the same thing with relationships. If you go, hey, I'm gonna go on date night twice a week, and I'm gonna buy my wife flowers on the way home, and I'm going to kiss her on the way out the door. But in the back of your mind, you're going like, I'm doing all the work. Why isn't she doing this, that, and that? You're complaining. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But instead, if you take full ownership, you don't complain, you don't pass the buck, meaning this still sits in the same framework that we've always had. You're not a victim. The victim mentality is the most detrimental thing that we can do as human beings to ourselves. Now, there are victims. There are victims of trauma and abuse and otherwise horrific things that shouldn't happen to people. But that's different than a victim mentality, and that's what we're talking about. The victim mentality ultimately is a choice. Now, for some people, it's a much more difficult choice than others. But ultimately, it does come down to a choice.
Show up and don't complain. We're going to wrap it up there. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, everybody out there, for listening. Thank you for your ratings and your reviews. One more reminder, if you want to get a question into a future episode, chasingexcellence.email is the best, fastest, and most efficient way to do it. We send out an email on Saturdays with a link to a form. You can submit as many questions as you like. We thank you in advance. Ben and I will be back soon with a brand new episode of Chasing Excellence.